Today we will be learning about characterization. So before we get started, a quick reminder, just like last time, as you go through this video, you're going to want to keep the video open either on YouTube or on your Summit resources, and you're also going to want to keep your checkpoint open so that you can take notes as you watch. Whenever you see a pencil, that means you have something to write in Summit. So whenever you see this pencil sign, pause the video and look for the yellow blanks in your notes to fill out. All right, here we go. Characterization. What is it and why does it matter? Last week, we learned about point of view. So we learned that authors choose point of view for a reason. We also learned point of view helps us understand the perspective of different characters. So who's telling the story helps us understand characters more. Today we're thinking about this question. Besides point of view, how else can we understand characters on a deeper level? So we're thinking, what moves do authors make to help us figure out who a character is? Characterization is the way an author develops characters in order to show their traits. So again, you're going to pause this video on Summit, find the parts in yellow, and fill them out. A character trait describes a character's personality. A character trait is not an emotion. It is more permanent. So for example, an emotion or a mood is something that changes quickly. It's something that's temporary. So in this scenario, this boy wakes up, maybe he's late for something, and he's grumpy. And people might notice that about him. People might call him grumpy, but that's not really who he is as a person. On the other hand, a trait is who a person really is deep down. For example, let's say this man is always in a bad mood. He's always yelling at kids. He's always waving his cane. You might say he is a grumpy person. That is his trait. Next, we're going to think about direct versus indirect characterization. Direct characterization is when the author tells us about a character. For example, in a story, an author might say, Alicia is an honest person, and then we know that about her. Indirect characterization is when the author shows us about a character. You might remember something like this when we did personal narrative at the beginning of the year, and we talked about showing and not telling using sensory details. This is very similar. So instead of saying Alicia is an honest person, an author might say, Alicia found a $20 bill on the floor and turned it into the office. And from that, indirectly, we know that Alicia is honest. Today, we are going to talk about the steal method. To make an inference about character, we are going to steal from the text. Well, not really. You'll see. We can infer a character's traits based on the following things. So this is what steal stands for: speech, thoughts, effect on others, actions, and looks. We have to think, what does this evidence show me? So what is the speech telling me? What are the thoughts telling me? In the case of Alicia, we're thinking about her actions. She found a $20 bill on the floor and turned it into the office. Next, we need to make an inference about Alicia's character. Alicia is an honest person because she turned in the money instead of keeping it. So that's the inference we made based on the evidence. We're going to try this all together. I am going to read a passage from the book Flush by Carl Hiaasen. As we read, I want you to be thinking about how this character, Shelley, is described. What is she like? How do we know? Shelley was a large lady with bright blonde hair and a barbed wire tattoo around one of her arms. My dad had told me about her. He said to make sure I was extra polite. "Hop in," she shouted from her car, "and hurry it up. I'm not getting any younger." I got in because I was scared to say no. The thought of Shelley chasing me down and dragging me feet first into her Jeep was not appealing. All right, so thinking about Steele, the first thing I noticed was this description in the first paragraph about her being large and her tattoo. This is definitely describing her looks. Next, I noticed the part where she says, "Hop in, I'm not getting any younger." This part is speech. This is something that she says. The last part I noticed was the part where Noah, the person telling this story, says, "I got in because I was scared." This is effect on others. So this is how she is making Noah, the character, feel. So these three things are all part of Steele, and now we need to think, what inferences can we make about Shelley because of this? So what can we infer about Shelley's character? In Summit, you are going to see three options. You are going to pause this video and highlight the best answer. So take a moment and think. Is Shelley a respected person because Noah's dad said to be extra polite? Is Shelley an old person because she says, "I'm not getting any younger"? Is Shelley a tough person because she looks mean and Noah is scared to say no to her? Think, which of these is the best inference about who Shelley really is? All right, the best answer is, drum roll please, C. Shelley is a tough person because she looks mean and Noah is scared to say no to her. There is most evidence for this answer based on everything in the passage. Now you are going to try it on your own. So go back to your checkpoint and you will complete your check for understanding in Summit and request feedback. So you will read two passages. For each passage, you're going to do the exact same thing I did. You're going to think, what part of Steele do I notice? And what does this tell me about who this character is and why? As always, you can let me or Ms. Zuccarello or Mr. Perez know if you have any questions, and you can come to our office hours on Zoom for more help.